Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
What if I told you there is a way to participate in the stock market without putting your retirement money at risk? Well, there is. Stay tuned as I show you how I've helped thousands of savers do just that.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money. The Worry-Free Retirement with your host, five-time author and retirement specialist, the annuity king himself, Tony Walker.
Over the past 34 years, I've sold just about every financial product imaginable, from annuities to life insurance to real estate investment trusts to stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and yes, now the ever-popular ETFs. Last week I shared what I referred to as the investment product spectrum, which in our example begins with those assets. I used a $100 bill to make it really dramatic. Those assets that are in your pocket are guaranteed that you can take and use and enjoy. I called that real money. And then we went all the way down to the other end of the spectrum, all the way over to the really speculative stuff. We talked about Bitcoin, might be an example. These are things that we really don't know what they're worth, and we kind of called these assets funny money. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am retirement specialist Tony Walker, and today we are continuing our educational series on the 4 types of annuities and how annuities are helping so many savers worry less and less about their money, and more importantly, to worry less in retirement. And today, week 3 in our 5-part series, I'm going to discuss one of the most interesting products in my 34 years that I've ever seen created specifically for the saver personality. It's a product that when it was first introduced to myself and introduced to our industry back in the late 1990s, back then made no sense whatsoever. You'll find out that in a minute. But now, we fast forward to January 3rd, 2019, the date of this recording, 2019, this product has allowed me personally to become one of the largest personal producers of this product. I'll tell you in a minute. I'm going to keep you hanging. Not just in the state of Kentucky and Indiana, where we primarily practice and see our clients, but also in the entire country. This product is simple, yet ingenious. And more importantly, it is so safe that as we speak, even those on Wall Street who in the previous years have kind of hated this product are now starting to come to the other side and possibly even recommend this product. Imagine that. So before we get going on today's program, let's review the 4 types of annuities. A couple of weeks ago, let's talk about the first one very briefly. That was the variable annuity. Again, the variable annuity is a product that actually is a Wall Street type product. Yes, it's issued by insurance companies, but all the money is invested in the stock market. As well, variable annuities tend to have very high fees, so in our practice at Tony Walker Financial, since we work with savers, we do not recommend variable annuities for those reasons, risk and high fees. The second annuity we covered last week is one that I think savers should love, especially now that short-term interest rates are inching up, and that's called the fixed interest annuity. Again, the reason we like this is because the principal is protected. There are no fees with a fixed interest annuity, and if you're just looking for a nice rate of return, depending on the term of the annuity, you can get anywhere from 3 to 4% guaranteed. All right? Now, the third type of annuity, the one we'll be going into today, is the one that I like the most. It's one myself and my wife have. We'll get into that more about the amounts of money we have in these annuities. But that's another story, right? And then the fourth type of annuity, the one we'll be covering next week, is called the immediate annuity. The immediate annuity would be like my granddad's pension I always talk about, and that's one that we don't use a lot, but again, could possibly be perfect for your scenario. So, what is this third type of annuity we'll be talking about today? Is it something that Tony Walker personally invests in? An emphatic yes. Is it something Tony Walker's high school sweetheart and wife of 35 years, who is the most conservative person on the planet, would invest in? The answer is yes. and it's also one of the most popular products right now of savers, especially with this recent downturn in the stock market. In fact, we like to call this product sleep insurance. You stay tuned. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. What if there was a financial product that could guarantee an income you could never outlive? A product that is not at risk in the stock market? Well, there is, and it's called an annuity. And for the past 34 years, I've personally helped thousands of savers secure over $300 million of annuities. So why risk your hard-earned money when you don't have to? Let's meet in person to see if an annuity is right for you. Log on today to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're about to discuss in detail one of my favorite financial products of all time for savers, one that I've personally put a lot of money into, one my wife has invested in, one that thousands of my clients have invested. We're totaling now over $300 million in these products. Now, before I tell you, let me go back in history a little bit and go back to the go-go 90s. Now, the go-go 90s, I don't know if you remember those times. Those were the times when we used to kid around. You could throw a dart at a dartboard full of stocks and pick a winner. In fact, I think the Wall Street Journal actually enjoyed this particular episode where they took some monkeys and threw darts at dartboards. This is a true story. And in many cases, the monkeys throwing darts at the dartboard full of stocks did better than the professional expert stock pickers. So I was going great. Our money management practice was going great. Then, all of a sudden, that fateful day, September 11th, 2001, when they flew into those Twin Towers, and all of my accounts came crashing down, literally. The market closed. We couldn't get into the accounts. When the market finally opened a week later, all the accounts were down. Now, you got to understand something. I had never been through that severe of a stock market correction. I was licensed to sell securities in '87 and saw that one, but nothing like this and the uncertainty that swirled around those tragic events. What dawned on me is the reality that my clients' money was at risk, and particularly what concerned me was the clients that were retired or nearing retirement. And all I could tell them was, hang in there. I mean, what kind of advice is that? And now we're fast forwarding to 2019. We look back at 2018, and folks, if you've got all your money in the stock market, especially if you're retired or retiring soon, you can't do that. I met a gentleman last night. He had well over $1 million in his 401k, wanted me to look at his stuff. And I look at his 401k and I said, how much is this worth now? And he goes, it's about $840,000. I mean, that is a huge loss for somebody getting ready to retire. So what was I supposed to do? Again, I was entrenched into the stock market. I was tied in with Wally World. And for the first time in my life, I was nervous for my clients. Luckily, I got this random phone call from an organization in San Diego, California. It was run by a gentleman by the name of Rick Metcalf. I'd never heard of Rick Metcalf, but they offered a free trip to go out there and see Rick Metcalf talk about this new product called a Fixed Indexed Annuity. Now again, I knew a little bit about him from just reading about him. I never had any interest in him. So anyway, I go see Mr. Metcalf. This was in August of 2002. Unfortunately, several days after that, he was tragically killed in an accident, a real icon of our industry. He was only 45. But it allowed me to see what he was doing to share the good news of these products with his clients, and then the rest is history. Since that time, we were actually one of the first in the country that televised on my TV station, my TV show, about these products. So I've been a big believer in fixed indexed annuities, and again, I personally have a lot of money invested in them. So let's kind of take a deep dive as to what these products are and how does a fixed indexed annuity compare to a product invested with Wall Street. What I've done here, let's go full screen, Aaron, America's favorite financial sidekicks at the helm here. Let's go full screen with this particular graphic that we use a lot in our workshops. Now what we're going to do is just basically glide through this, and as you can see, we're imagining we have two options. You could either take your $100,000 and invest it with Wally World, or you could go on what I call Main Street, real money, right, and invest it in one of these fixed indexed annuities. Now, year one, we're imagining you put $100,000 with Wally World, it goes up 20%, so now you're worth $120,000. That's a great return. Now, in this example, we're imagining Wally World charges 2.4% in fees. Could be higher, could be lower. If you had a variable annuity, quite frankly, it'd be much higher than this. But anyway, you still have $117,000. That's a really good return. Now, if you slid over to the indexed annuity we're assuming has something called a participation rate. That means, remember at the first I said, what if you could participate in the market without any risk? That means in this example, the insurance company is going to pay you 40% of whatever the Wall Street makes. So in this case, the Wall Street went up 20%, you get 40% of 20, your rate of return is 8%. So at the end of the year, you have $108,000. And you might be saying, well, Tony, that's not all that much money. Look how much I've got over here with Wall Street. We're not done yet. Next year, let's give the Wall Street the benefit of the doubt. We make 20% again. After fees, you still have $137,000. Again, a lot of money for retirement. We go over to the index side. Since we only make 40% of the 20%, we add another 8. But here's the key. Listen closely. That $116,640 is your new floor. You see, folks, each year with a fixed indexed annuity, you receive a new floor, meaning whatever it made the previous year, you cannot lose. This is why we call it sleep insurance. It's not funny money. This is real money. So let's go to the third year. Now we're getting into the basics. What if we have something happen that happened in 2008? We go down 20%. Notice you're down after fees to $107,000. Granted, you're still ahead of the $100,000, but we have to stop here and ask ourselves, what in the world is going on? Can we sit here and wait for this market to come back? Is it going to go down? Nobody can time the market. And there we sit. Very, very scary proposition, especially if you're retired or nearing retirement. Now, the beauty of the fixed indexed annuity, look at this closely. In year 3, notice under actual rate of return, it says 0. I like to say 0 is your hero, because $116,640, folks, did not go down. We're actually ahead of Wall Street with no risk. So folks, if you're sitting there saying, man, I didn't even know anything like this existed, well, probably because your broker or the 401k doesn't offer anything like this. Here's what you need to do. To learn more about these products, log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Several years ago, I wrote a little booklet. It's called the Annuity Decision Guide for Savers. This little booklet is a gem, folks. It will share with you everything you need to know about annuities, and particularly how fixed indexed annuities might be right for you. So again, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Log on, download that booklet. All right, so now we've explained what a fixed indexed annuity is and how it operates in terms of its participating in the stock market. I'm going to get the whiteboard out. This is going to be really good stuff. In our next segment, I'm going to imagine that that same person takes all their 401k, invests it over on Wall Street, and starts taking income out versus putting it with us on Main Street and does the same thing. Good stuff. You're going to want to stay tuned. You're watching the WorryFree Retirement. Let me get the whiteboard out.
Win or lose, games are a blast, but playing around with your retirement is serious business. So don't leave your retirement to chance. Get a retirement game plan from well-known retirement specialist Tony Walker. Learn how to be worry-free in retirement with a safe and simple game plan that includes mailbox money for life. To meet in person with Tony, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
And I said, hey, Lama, hey, how about a little something, for the effort, And he says, oh, there won't be any money. But when you die, on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
One of the funniest scenes of any movie ever, Bill Murray as the groundskeeper. And maybe you feel like that. Maybe your 401k looks more like a 201k, and maybe you think, well, at least I've got total consciousness on my deathbed, which is nice. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the show here. We're trying to understand how a fixed indexed annuity would work as opposed to putting your money on Wall Street when you take money out. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. Very interesting illustration. I'm going to have to go quickly, though, because we've got a lot of numbers to cover. So what we're imagining, Main Street is the fixed indexed annuity, all right? And you've decided, let's say, to roll your $500,000 401k. into an IRA fixed indexed annuity, all right? In this example, use my cheat sheet, the market goes up 5%. We're going to assume a 50% participation rate, so that means you make 2.5% on your money. Remember, we are participating in the stock market with a fixed indexed annuity. We are not actually in the market. Now, the income taken in this example, you need $25,000 to live on. So we subtract that, leaving us an ending balance at the end of the year of right at $487,000. So it's gone down a little bit, which works fine. Remember, with the Worry-Free Retirement, we follow something called the 3 halves of life. For years, I've noticed this when I've worked with all these retirees. Between 60 and 70 is the period of time where most of our clients spend more money. Then as they enter the second half of life, getting into after 70, they spend less and less. So we're not worried about the principal going down slightly in this example. So we start off with our new balance at the beginning of the year. We just carry that forward. We imagine another 5% stock market return, meaning we make 2.5%, but we need $25,000, right? We're taking that out, which leaves us a balance of around $474,000. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We start off with our $474 here, and the market goes down 20%. So what happens here? Nothing. That's the beauty, because remember, with the fixed indexed annuity, we have a new floor. And granted, we didn't make anything. We still needed our $25,000, okay? And we now have $449,000. Now I'm going to stop there for now, and let's go down and imagine these 3-year scenarios. If you put your money in, let's say, growth mutual funds over on Wall Street, what happens, all right? So we're going to start out again with $500,000. We imagine you make 5%. It's a true 5% because there's no participation rate with the stock market. You take out your $25,000, and voila, this thing's working out good, right? You still have all your original principal in this example because the market made 5%. You basically took out 5%. You're still at break even. So your new balance is still $500,000. Again, we're just imagining the same thing up here. We make the full 5%. We take out our $25,000, and we're so happy because our principal is intact. So you might say, Tony, what's wrong with this? Why would I do this over this? And this was the same thought I had in the 90s when these indexed annuities were first produced. Why would I want to give up all these returns? Because in the 90s, they just went up, up, and up. Remember, 9/11 changed all this, and we're going to see this. So this third year, again, we're now imagining the market goes down 20%. That means it's a true loss of 20%. You still got to need your money, right? Aunt Martha and you were sitting there saying, wait a minute, we got to have money. We just can't stop taking income just because the market has gone through this major downturn. And now, literally overnight, your $500,000 is worth $375. $375. Now, if we go back up here, we're imagining this happens again. We're imagining another 20% decline. We don't lose a penny. We still take out our $25,000. Okay? Now we're at $424. I know it's not great, but you're getting ready to see in a minute. Thank goodness, in this example, you didn't have your money in the market. Because let's see what happens if this same scenario happens next year. Remember, you're only starting out with $375 because you just lost 20%. The market goes down 20% again. That's a true 20% loss because you don't have a floor in this scenario. Remember, you're out there in Wally World on your own. You take out your $25,000. Whew, this is spooky. You're now down. You're only 4 years into retirement, and you're down to $275,000. And about all anybody's going to be able to do, here's what's the response from Wall Street. Yep, same thing I told people. Hang in there. Not real encouraging, right? Let's go out one more year. Let's be positive. Let's imagine. Let's start this over again. So we have our 424. And let's say the market goes up 20%. So we're going to make 10%. Remember, half of whatever the market makes. In this example, we're using a 50% participation rate. We still take out our $25,000. So now the fixed indexed annuity balance is around $441,000. That's our ending balance after the end of 5 years under this hypothetical scenario. Again, we start off with 275. We're all finally excited because the market went up 20. So yeah, you make the full 20. You take out your 25. But look at this, look at the balance here. You still, after just 5 years, have only $305,000. So, in summary, we took no risk here. This is real money. After 5 years of all this markets up and down and taking out income, we still have $441,000. As opposed to Wall Street, we call this funny money, all this market gyration, you need your income. But look at this, after 5 years, you only have $305,000. Now you're saying, well, can that happen, Tony? It could. We don't know. That's the problem. So folks, if you're a saver and you're looking for guarantees and you're wanting to build something like this into your retirement plan, we have done thousands of these and we can help. The best thing you can do right now is go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Two options. The first option is download the Annuity Decision Guide for Savers. This little booklet I wrote, it's a humdinger, folks, and it's going to explore how annuities work and whether they're right for you. Secondly, if you'd like to talk to me in person when you go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, just click on that Let's Get Started button. It's absolutely free, no obligation. Be happy to share these products with you. And more importantly, put these inside of a game plan to see how they can help you worry less about money. Does the Bible have anything to say about not able to count on this money? It sure does, but guess what? I got to get me a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Annuities. Some people love them and some people hate them. Regardless of how you feel about annuities, one thing's for sure, annuities are the only financial product that can guarantee an income you can never outlive. I'm Tony Walker, and regardless of whether you're thinking about buying an annuity or you have a current annuity that you would like me to review, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Since 9/11, we've written over 2,500 annuities, and we can help you by getting started now.
And I say, hey, Llama, hey, how about a little something, for the effort, And he says, oh, there won't be any money. But when you die, on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, folks. I've got to pay homage here to someone by the name of Charles Spurgeon. Charles Spurgeon, actually this is kind of ironic, was age 58 when he passed away. I'm 58. My morning and evening devotional, I'm always talking about Charles Spurgeon. Here's a bobblehead. Okay, here we go. I got a bobblehead of me, and Aaron, America's favorite financial sidekick, knows how much I love Charles Spurgeon. There's Charles Spurgeon. And we were laughing about that. If you were dressed like that right now in a street corner sharing the gospel, you probably would get arrested. But a great man, Charles Spurgeon. And Aaron, thank you so much for the Charles Spurgeon bobblehead. There's a story of a couple of guys attending a funeral of a well-known wealthy elderly gentleman who had recently died of a sudden heart attack. This elderly gentleman was the pillar of the community. He had apparently millions and millions of dollars, and these two were sitting there near the casket, shocked by the sudden death of this gentleman, and they happened to be wondering how much money he actually had accumulated. As these two were standing near the casket of this wealthy man, one of them was overheard to ask the other a very interesting question. He asked, I wonder how much his net worth was, to which the other replied, I heard he was worth about $10 million. The other gentleman then asked, well, I wonder how much he left. The other one kind of said flatly, all of it. Ecclesiastes 1:15 says of this vain pursuit of money. Let's turn there, Aaron. Ecclesiastes 1:15, my favorite book in the Bible, if you want to find out more about money in life. It says, what is crooked cannot be straightened, and what is lacking cannot be counted. My 34 years of working with people and money, here's my take on the world's way versus God's way. Many of you are investing in things you don't understand. And you know what? This lack of being able to count on this money in the future and worrying about all the things you're hoping it will buy for you is leading to unnecessary worry. I truly believe that the devil's goal is not to distress God's people with physical preservation. Let's face it, folks, we're not going to be here forever. We all know we're going to die, just like this wealthy gentleman in our example. But what the devil is more concerned about is distressing God's people over things. So Tony, you say, how do I avoid the world's strategy of investing in things I don't understand, to buy things I probably don't need anyway, to try to impress people I don't really care that much for anyway, and then eventually I die and who's going to get it, right? Well, you can't do anything about it on your own, but the Bible says you can. And here's what it says. You cannot straighten what is crooked, and you cannot count what cannot be counted, but God can. In fact, let's turn over to Luke 3:5, Aaron. Luke 3:5, where Jesus says, "And the crooked shall become straight, and the roads smooth, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God." So what he's saying is one day, this crooked generation that we have to deal with, folks, it's not going to be crooked anymore. This stuff we're trying to count and we can't take with us, we're not going to have to worry about counting it anymore. Christ is taking care of that. He's taking care of the worries and the cares. And I would just say, start trusting Him more. Well, what about you? Do you have an advisor in whom you can place your trust? An advisor that's provided you a game plan that you can count on, one that has guarantees built into the plan, one that's very easy to monitor? Well, I've been doing this for over 34 years, and we have literally worked on thousands of game plans for savers, and we understand how to keep things simple. I've developed proprietary software. I have a process called the WorryFree Retirement. And in fact, the 5th step of that process, you know what it's called? Monitor your progress. Yes, we know how to measure things, we know how to count things, and we want you to be able to count on your money to last as long as you do. So give us an opportunity to talk. There is absolutely no cost or obligation. It's easy to do, to meet with me personally or talk to me by phone at either our Bowling Green or Louisville, Kentucky office. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. While there, you're going to click on that Let's Get Started button. Now, that information is confidentially sent to our offices. We do not share that information with outside sources. You will be contacted and be given an opportunity to talk with me by phone, or if a meeting warrants for us to meet in person, again, we'll arrange that at no cost or obligation. Now, during the first appointment, what we do is we sit down for about 30 minutes, and we do what we call a fact finder. The job is to clarify your vision, what it is you're hoping I can help you with. You'll bring in all your personal documents. I'll review those and put my 34 years of experience to work immediately. Now here's the best part. We'll then set up a second appointment where I'll provide you at no cost a free assessment of your situation. Now, unlike a lot of advisors who won't show anything to you unless you invest money with them, we will. We'll give you an opportunity to study that assessment, make sure you don't have any questions, and then if you want to follow through and work with us, obviously, we'll be happy to implement all of the strategies we're going to share with you. So take advantage of that. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. Remember, next week we'll be talking about the 4th type of annuity, immediate annuity. It's going to be some really good stuff. But you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.